What if everything we've been told about Meghan Markle isn't true? Not the fairy tale, not the Netflix documentary, not the carefully curated image she's spent years building. What if there's a detail, small, almost invisible, that quietly unravels the whole story? Because right now, across social media, across tabloids, across royal watching forums, one name keeps coming up: Samantha Markle. And what she's allegedly claiming could change the way the world sees Meghan forever. Stay with me, because this one goes deep. To understand why this matters, you have to understand who Meghan Markle is, or at least who she's presented herself to be. Born in Los Angeles, raised in a world caught between Hollywood glamour and everyday struggle, she worked her way up: small roles, a briefcase on Deal or No Deal, and eventually a starring role on the hit legal drama Suits. Then came the moment that changed everything: a prince, a proposal, a wedding watched by nearly 2 billion people. Overnight, Meghan Markle wasn't just an actress from California. She was the Duchess of Sussex, a symbol, a headline, a lightning rod. And with that kind of spotlight comes scrutiny. But here's what most people forget about Meghan's story: she didn't come from nowhere. She came from a family, a complicated, fractured, very human family. And one member of that family has never stayed quiet. Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister, Thomas Markle's daughter from a previous relationship, has been one of the most persistent and polarizing voices in the anti-Meghan media circuit for years. She's written a book, she's done interviews, she's filed lawsuits, she's appeared on talk shows from the UK to Australia, sharing what she describes as the real Meghan Markle. Most of the time, the world dismissed her, but this time, some people aren't so sure. So what exactly is Samantha Markle allegedly claiming now? It started, like so many modern controversies do, with a comment, a statement, a suggestion dropped almost casually into a public forum that Meghan's age might not be what we've always been told. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear this out. Samantha has reportedly pointed to what she describes as inconsistencies, discrepancies between public records, timelines, and the dates that have been associated with Meghan's early life. In various interviews and online statements, she has allegedly suggested that the birth year most people associate with Meghan Markle doesn't line up with certain documents, certain records, certain details buried in the public record that, according to Samantha, don't quite add up. The specific claim, as it's been circulating, that Meghan may be older than officially stated. Now, and this is important, Samantha Markle has a history of making incendiary claims about her half-sister. Many have been disputed. Many have been dismissed outright by Meghan's team and supporters. But here's the thing: some people are listening this time. And the reason they're listening is because of what came next. Here's where things get interesting. After Samantha's comments began circulating online, a section of royal watchers and investigative enthusiasts started digging, and what they allegedly found, or claim to have found, are what some are calling timeline anomalies: publicly available records, school enrollment windows, early career documentation, dates that, according to some observers, create questions when placed side by side. Now, let's be absolutely clear. No verified, authenticated document has been publicly produced that definitively proves any discrepancy in Meghan Markle's age. What we're talking about is a collection of claims, interpretations, and alleged inconsistencies that certain people have stitched together into a theory. But here's the detail that people can't seem to ignore. When some of these self-described researchers began cross-referencing publicly available timelines, early acting credits, school records that are semi-public, yearbook appearances, they reportedly encountered dates that, at minimum, raised eyebrows. Were these discrepancies the result of simple recording errors, clerical mistakes, deliberate omissions? Or is there something more? That's the question Samantha Markle's supporters say deserves an answer. And then there's this, the moment that really threw fuel on the fire. In one of her more recent public appearances, Samantha allegedly doubled down, not backing away from the claim, not walking it back, instead reportedly insisting that people do their research and look at the real timeline for themselves. For her supporters, that was confirmation. For her critics, it was another example of a woman willing to say anything to stay relevant. And somewhere in between those two reactions, the internet caught fire. Because once this story hit social media, it didn't stay contained. Within hours, the hashtags were moving, royal forums lit up, TikTok creators were dropping video after video, some mocking the claim outright, others treating it with deadly seriousness. Meghan's most passionate defenders called it exactly what they believe it to be, a calculated, baseless attack from a woman who has made a career out of trying to tear down her famous half-sister. They pointed to Samantha's track record, the disputed claims, the lawsuit, the book that Meghan's team has reportedly described as full of falsehoods. They argued, loudly, that this is just the latest chapter in a long campaign of harassment. And honestly, they have a point worth considering. But on the other side of the debate, there were voices saying something different. Why does this keep coming up? Why hasn't anyone addressed it directly? Where there's smoke, that's how rumors survive, not because they're proven, but because questions go unanswered long enough that the silence starts to feel like confirmation. Several UK tabloids picked up the story, not necessarily endorsing the claims, but covering the controversy surrounding them, and that coverage, in turn, fed more social media discussion, which fed more coverage, the cycle doing exactly what it always does. Within the royal watching community specifically, the reaction was split almost perfectly down the middle. Those who have been skeptical of Meghan for years treated it as validation of something they'd long suspected. Those who support her treated it as proof that the media will never let her live in peace. Both groups, in their own way, became louder. So why does any of this actually matter? On the surface, it might seem trivial. An age, a number, a detail that, even if somehow inaccurate, would change very little about the arc of Meghan Markle's life. But here's the bigger picture. For Meghan, image is everything. She has built, carefully, deliberately, a public persona rooted in authenticity, vulnerability, truth-telling. From the Oprah interview to the Netflix documentary to her podcast and beyond, the entire brand is, I am telling you the real story. If any part of that story, even something as seemingly minor as a birth year, were ever called into genuine question, the implications for that brand could be significant. Not because the world would suddenly turn on her, but because it would hand her critics exactly the kind of ammunition they've been searching for: a crack, a gap, a moment of doubt. And in the current media landscape, doubt is a weapon. For Samantha Markle, the stakes are different. Whether you believe her or think she's operating in bad faith, she has clearly decided that keeping this conversation alive serves some purpose for her. Whether that's a genuine belief that the public deserves truth or something more personal, a grievance, a rivalry, a need for relevance, only she truly knows. And for rest of us, for the public watching from the outside, it's a reminder of something uncomfortable. We often think we know public figures completely. We've watched their interviews, read their memoirs, followed their social media, and yet, how much do we actually know? How much of any public persona is carefully constructed? At the end of the day, it depends on what you believe. Do you believe Meghan Markle is exactly who she says she is? A woman who escaped a toxic institution, reclaimed her narrative, and is living her truth on her own terms? Or do you believe Samantha Markle when she suggests there are layers to this story that haven't been fully told? Or maybe, do you think the truth lives somewhere in the complicated, messy, deeply human space between those two positions? So here's the question I'll leave you with. Is this a shocking revelation that history will look back on as the moment the curtain was pulled back? Or is it just another royal rumor, loud, dramatic, and ultimately smoke without fire? I genuinely want to know what you think.
Drop your take in the comments below. Are you Team Meghan, Team Samantha, or are you somewhere in the middle just trying to figure out what's actually real? If you found this video interesting, hit subscribe because we cover the stories behind the stories, the ones that don't make the front page, but somehow won't go away.